Good morning, everybody. I really dig this tune. I swear to you, I walk around all day long now with this in my head. My image on my camera seems odd today. Hold on a second, let me see something, people. May not be the most professional thing that I've ever done, but let's see what's going on here. No, there's just something weird going on with the camera. That's all right, though. We're going to go with the name. Miss V, would you look at that? If I didn't know better, I'd think I swear to you, I thought I saw Miss V's name at 5 a.m. That would just blow my mind. Must have been a mirage, because I know V doesn't get up at 5. Very impressed. All right, people, I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And it is the weekend. It is the weekend. Thank you for sharing last night's video, last night's live feed, because it's not going to get any traction any other way, and that's the reality of the world we live in. So yesterday, we were talking about the reasons that people don't make it. In fact, we've been talking about relapse all week on the early show, and I got some emails. I was going through them last night, and there are a couple of people that really just seemed to get exactly what I was talking about, and then there were a couple of people that seemed like, I don't know, some of the questions I got seemed really odd, and there's no such thing as a bad question. There really isn't. But there's questions that make you wonder if you did something really wrong in your presentation, because it just seemed like so. But we're going to get to some nuts and bolts stuff here. So yesterday I talked a lot about programming. And there are some people who seem to have some questions about this. So we're going to talk about it real quick. One of the things that we have going for us as drug addicts, which is really an odd thing when you first hear it, but one of the things that we really have going for us as drug addicts is that we have the ability to develop a habit often faster than anybody else. So the daunting task, especially when you first quit, the daunting task of, I can never do this again. I'm never going to be able to do this again. This is something I could never do again. That will just start racing through your head. And the prospect of, I'm never going to be able to do this for the rest of my life, becomes one of those things that burrows into your brain. It does that sort of worm effect where you feel like, you can't change the thought that you have in your head, right? So we talk all the time about two thoughts can't take place at the exact same time. We talk about all kinds of things. And one of the easiest ways to make that go away, and one of the easiest ways to build a program, is to have structure in your life. And structure is nothing more, because structure is nothing more than a habit. What's funny is, as addicts, we fight structure, and it should be our best friend, because we know that we can develop a habit faster than anybody. Why not structure your sobriety to be habitual? Get up at the same time. Make your bed every single morning. Make sure you do journaling. It's not busy work. Somebody actually asked me, they said, is it really necessary to do all this busy work? I don't know. Was it necessary to do all the busy work that got you high? Because that got you to be a drug addict. Because let's be really honest, that's exactly what we do, right? Busy work is nothing more than a habit. Busy work is nothing more than structure. So we'll use me as an example again, because it's easy, to point the finger at me. When I was using, I did the same thing again and again and again and again. That habit was so ingrained, so etched in stone. I was going to get up, I was going to steal, I was going to go sell the dope, I was going to go park in the same parking lots, wait on the same people, right? I used to park in the same places, in the parking lot. I used to buy dope at the same place so often that if I came in the morning, one of them was a Home Depot, and they would rotate you because they didn't want to keep delivering to the same places. The way that a drug dealer delivers heroin, it's not like going over to a guy's house to buy drugs. Like most people, you think of somebody that you buy pot from or whatever, and you drive over and you hang out for a little while, and they go, "Hey, what's going on, Tommy?" It's nothing like that. If you're addicted to heroin, you dial a phone number, and they're businesslike. The way they've done this, you dial the number, and they go, "Hey, what's up? What do you want?" And you go, $150. Okay, meet me at the Home Depot on 7th Street. Right, 15 minutes. And then no matter where you are, you got to cruise over to wherever they tell you. The next time it may be 10 miles away, but it's always a public parking lot. And you pull in and you get close enough to the entrance to look for that car. And I have spent hundreds of hours staring at the parking lot, waiting for the gold Honda to come in, or the white Suburban, because they rotate their cars about every 15 days. The habits, the things that I did that just became habitual, the structure that I had in my life was incredible. It was awful structure. It didn't do me any good at all, but it was structure. So when we start thinking about, I got to break this habit, man, I got to break this habit, I got to break this habit, I got to break this habit, I got to break this habit. What you need to do is replace that habit. What you need to do is replace that habit with something that is healthy. Somebody said in an email last night that the sacrifice of me getting up at this hour to do this for you people. Let me explain something. This is structure in my life. I suppose it would be easy to sort of sit back and say, yes, well, I'm willing to do this for you people because I am so kind. But the truth of the matter is that I need this structure as bad as anybody else. I need structure in my life. Everything that I do needs to be habitual. On the bright side, I'm really good at developing a habit. I've proved that throughout my entire life. What Q did that was so magical was figure out that individuals who get addicted to drugs crave structure. People who get addicted to drugs crave habit. Everything that we do is habitual. And I think one of the things that we lose as addicts is the concept that as much as the drug does something for us, the habit does just as much. Yesterday when we were talking about programming, when you go to prison, when you go to prison, people will come up and say to you, how do you do your time? Older convicts will say, so how do you program? Literally, like this is a term you hear probably 50 times. Are you on a good program? What are you doing? You working out? And the reason is, prison is hell on a person's mind. They put you in a really, really small room. They take away all of your freedoms. They take away your ability to talk to the people that you love. They take away your ability to make decisions. I wonder what I'm going to do today. You're so limited in what you can do that you have to put structure into it to make your version of prison unique. Because if everybody just sort of goes through the same thing, and I've watched it happen, where you get a room of 160 convicts and none of them are doing anything to better themselves. Nobody's doing anything to habitually break their day up so that they're not concentrating on the fact that they're in a cage. That's when you get riots. That's when you get people that stab one another. The tension levels go through the roof. After doing a decent amount of time, I could tell you what months we were going to get really serious violence. When it got hot outside, when it got really, really hot outside, things got really, really ugly. Or when we hit winter on some of the yards, because I have been in a federal prison, it's different than a state prison where you're going to do all your time in one place. I went all over the country. So I did time in really, really hot climates, and I did time in really, really cold climates. And when it snows outside and you get a foot of snow and they're not letting anybody out, they don't want you out in the snow for whatever reason. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But, for 2 weeks, nobody's going outside, which means you're not going and walking the yard in circles, which seems stupid, but it's part of everybody's program. And to see what happens to a group of people when you remove that structure was terrifying. Now, as a recovering addict, if you remove structure from your life, bad things are going to happen. Probably not going to be making a shank to stab your neighbor. What you're going to do is go back to what you know. The way we relapse is going back to what we know. We go back to what we know again and again and again and again like a friggin' homing pigeon. We crave some kind of structure to make a world that doesn't make any sense to us as drug addicts, to try to make sense out of that world. And the easiest way to do that is to turn your brain off. What we forget is the amount of effort and work that we do to turn our brains off. And we get into this rut where we think that we're really different in everything that we do. What a lot of people don't realize is the habits that you did while you were a drug addict are identical to every other person's habits that they did while they were drug addicts. I got an email this morning that was from somebody that journals with me. As opposed to journaling, I've talked about this, and this individual sends me an email instead of journaling. And it's been benefiting me amazingly because it's insight into the mind of another addict. And this person is diligent as hell about the journaling. So, and is articulate, and these things are long. So, I was reading them today, and he was commenting on some of the things that I've done and that I've been open about. And I think it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their brain around. I think it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their brain around some of the really depraved things that I did, right? Because you think to yourself, man, I got bad, but it's not like I was robbing banks, right? I wouldn't do anything like that. And this person said, you know what? I never robbed banks, but I made change jars drop consistently. And I won't go through everything else, but there was one thing after another that basically looked at the really kind of depraved things that I did and compared them to things that this individual was doing. Now, he wasn't robbing banks, but he was stealing for his habit. And, the violence that sort of took place in prison, he wasn't there. However, in his relationships, the way that he treated people and how everything escalated up. People, we are so similar in almost every way. Addicts. Now, the behaviors are different, but the habitual things that we do as addicts are all the same. So, knowing this, knowing that as much as the drug was important to the addiction, habitual things that we did is really what the brain was craving. Our brain craves structure. It does. Now, it's also ridiculously lazy, and the structure that it craves, it wants the status quo. So what have you been doing? I go to work, I come home, I get loaded, right? I stumble around drunk, I pass out. I do that every single night. Well, if you don't do it tomorrow night, your brain's going to be pissed off. And that's just the way it works. Because once you remove the structure, you start to feel uncomfortable in your own skin. You start to feel miserable. You start to feel uncomfortable. There's no continuity in life. So your brain is going to do everything within its power to make sure that you get loaded as soon as you get home from work, right? That's exactly what your brain is going to do. It wants you to go back to the lowest common denominator. It wants you to go back to what you have been doing and what you know. And we've talked about this many times on the show. So what are you going to do? You're going to try to break that habit, right? You're trying to break something that you have been doing structured habitually for so long. It's your program. It's how you get through life. It's how you cope with a life that doesn't make sense to you. Well, then you better replace it. Screw quitting it. You understand that if we quit doing what we were doing and we don't replace it, that is a life change. And it's a life change that will shock your brain. And when your brain gets shocked as an addict and gets pissed off, it drives you harder. The automatic negative thoughts gets worse. Worse and worse. You will get that I'm a loser. I'm worthless. Man, I'm never going to make it. I don't even know why I do this. I got no talent. I got no... And all of those thoughts are just going to start raping your brain. So the easiest way to do this is to realize just how quickly you develop a habit so that when work ends, okay, then there's something else I got to be doing right now. Work ends, I got to do what? And that doesn't matter. That's your job to figure out what the what is. But if you start the day creating new habits, if from the first time you open your eyes, new habits begin to develop, your brain will be seeking out not old habits, but it will be looking for what the next new thing you're feeding it is. And you know what new is? New is another word for like novel, right? If it's brand new to your life, it's a novelty. You realize that our brain was designed to release dopamine when we do things that are novel. So right as you're becoming sober for the first time, you need to give your brain fresh and new crap to do that you've never done before. The cue method. Did I used to do that? No. Well, then I'm going to do it. But it is going to be unique. It is going to be novel. And when something unique and novel takes place in our brain, we release dopamine. So the structure, you get up in the morning, what do? You make your bed. Now, does it have to be the first thing you do? No, but it ought to be in the early stages of getting up. It tells the day, I'm different. This is who I am. I'm not the same guy that I was. And you'll get a little blast of dopamine. And it also is the first goal that you set for the day. First goal I set for the day is I'm not going to let that thing look like 14 people, rolled around wrestling in it. I'm going to make that thing. Put a little structure in my life. You're also going to change the way the environment looks. You understand that so much of our brain is just made up to take the images that we see, translate them into something that we can interpret in our brain. One of the biggest jobs of our brain is the ability to see. It's not as simple as a camera lens, because that's really not what's happening. It's looking at stuff that is chaos and then using the computer in here to reassemble it so that we see what's going on. If you're looking at the same house, trashed in the same way, right? Everything looks exactly the same. You're going to have more of a struggle. So structure your life in a way that is completely different. Clean the hell out of your house, man. Clean it. Rearrange it a little if you need to. TV used to be over there, put it over here. Because for 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to look novel. You'll walk into the room and look for something, and it's not going to be there, and you're going to look over there, and it's just that much chemical. Your brain dumping out a little dopamine. And why is that important? Because that's what we've been doing for the last 15 years, is craving that hit of dopamine. We'd get it from opening a can. We'd get it from rolling a joint. You understand that the drug is only half of the buzz. It's the reward center of the brain telling you you're a good boy for getting that beer. You're a good girl for rolling that joint. Reinforcing negative behavior is what makes us junkies. Makes us drunks. It makes us addicts. It makes us whatever. So clean up. Get your house, get your apartment, get your life cleaned up. So you get up in the morning, making the bed is going to be one of the big things. The biggest thing, in my opinion, truthfully, is get all of the subconscious thoughts that you have in your head from the previous night the hell out of your head. Now, you know what? If you've got a best friend that you can call and just ramble completely incohesive thoughts to, probably do the same thing as journaling. But you won't do that because something will come in your head and you'll go, ooh, I can't tell him that. You know what I mean? When I'm judging that thought, holy hell. The nice thing about journaling is the only person that's going to read it is you, most of the time. Right? You know that the thought that's coming out of your head, you can say whatever the hell you want. You know, even you might write something about your best friend. You know what? Honestly, sometimes I hate that dude. Well, that's probably not a conversation you would have with that guy. But anything that you've got going on in your head, you're going to dump out of your frontal lobe, right? You're going to dump it onto a piece of paper. We don't call the morning one journaling. We call it dumping. Take everything you got in your head and dump it onto a piece of paper. Why? Because you woke up before your brain was done doing its homework. Subconscious thoughts are just that. Sub, right? It's below your consciousness. When we go to sleep at night, our brain starts working through all the BS in the day that we couldn't handle. Something we saw, something somebody said, something whatever. It works through there in a way that makes no sense. That's why you have those dreams that just, I dreamt I was in prison, but my first grade teacher was there. And my first dog, which was crazy, only he had a saddle on him and he looked like a horse. How the hell that works through what goes on in our day, I can't answer that. And the psychiatrists and psychologists who tell you they can, I don't know that I buy it. I really don't. You know, I don't. I really don't. Some of that dream interpretation stuff. But you know what? It's not important. What's important is that we don't know whether or not our subconscious was done working through what it needed to work through. My gut says it never is. It never is. So you get up and you start going through your day, and that stupid thing that you didn't work through, you're not thinking about it. It's just running your life. See, it's hanging out right below the conscious. It is subconscious, and your subconscious wreaks havoc on your conscience. It does. The conscious mind gets the crap kicked out of it by the subconscious mind. So journal what you got. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be emptied from the head. You know what? Just rip it off as fast as it needs to be done. I can do it in about 5 minutes. I remember a time when that Took a lot longer, but 5 minutes, I write down everything. This also does more than just make sure that your subconscious isn't going to be getting the crap kicked out of it. It starts your brain at a different level. Do you understand what this means? So we wake up in the morning and we're not really happy. Kind of Monday, I got to go to work. I can't stand all of these things, right? The emotional part of your brain is now ruling you. I'm pissed. I'm not happy. There's a foot of snow out. I got to shovel before I can even get in the car. The emotional part of my brain is taking over. Now I pick up a pencil, I put it down to a piece of paper, and all of that emotional part just gets shifted to the frontal lobe. Now there's a part of my brain that I'm engaging, and I got my hand, right? So I got hand-eye coordination that is now has to be engaged. That's using a whole different part of the brain as well. And now my thoughts, my conscious thoughts are going down there, and I'm staring at that paper, and I'm hearing. There was somebody who wrote, does it matter whether we do it electronically? No, I don't think it does. The sound of pencil on paper, there's something about that that's almost hypnotic to me. And it's probably because after being in prison, the only way that this could ever happen, as far as journaling goes, there wasn't a whole lot of electronic communication taking place. It was one of those things that you could only do by scribbling stuff down on a piece of paper. But you're hearing the sounds, you're looking at it. Every single one of your senses is now engaged, and engaged while you're working your frontal lobe, the thinking, the higher conscious, the smarts of your brain. Don't let the emotions of your brain be how you start every single day of your life. If that doesn't make sense to you, I'm worried. Just keeping it real. If that doesn't make sense, I'm a little worried. Do you want to start your day letting the emotional part of your brain decide how you're going to have a day? Or do you want the intellectual, the logic part of your brain? So you wake up and you're having a really bad day and you start journaling. And I've done this 1,000 times. You start journaling and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? It really looks like more like 8 inches. This, knock this out. It's no big deal. Once you get the logical part of your brain going, then things like the perspective can now start to flourish. And if you're new to the channel, the perspective is when something happens that pisses you off so bad, or that hurts your feelings so bad, or scares you so bad, you go, okay, so this is a tragedy that's happening in my life. So on a scale from 1 to 10, in tragedy land, number 1 being I just got a flat tire. I got to pull over on the side of the road and change it. And number 10 is I just lost my dad. Where does this fall on that scale? And when you realize that's probably about a 3. So I'm going to let a 3 destroy my day. I'm going to let a 3 make me throw something against the wall. I'm going to let a 3 have me rip off a whole length of curses that just make me sound like an absolute madman. No, I don't see that happening. But we aren't very good at working perspective into anything if we're allowing the emotional part of our brain to run the day. Now, why would that happen? What if I get up and it's a great day? I don't know. Maybe that's perfect. It's sunny, the sun's shining. Of course, there's all of this stuff that you didn't work through during the night. Can't think about it because it's in your subconscious. But you still need to dump it out onto a piece of paper if you plan on having a good day, I promise you. So get up, do your journaling, make your bed. Eat something. Don't care what. I don't care what. If you're a cook, man, do it up. Have something serious. But a bowl of cereal, whatever you do. But if you have breakfast every day, you're giving sugar and, a lot of sugar, really, because that's what sort of feeds our brain. Our brain really, craves glucose in a pretty big way. But if you don't give your brain energy in the morning, if you don't give your brain calories in the morning, it's not going to function right. It's a computer. And it takes a ungodly amount of the calories that we bring in every day to run this itty bitty little thing between our ears. It's using more than the rest of the body. How's that possible? Well, because it's the computer. If you don't plug a computer in, it's not worth a fart, right? If it doesn't have a charge on it, it's worthless. So is your brain. And when we were addicts, we didn't care because we were going to feed it something else. And there was no structure. You get up and, your structure was nothing healthy. I mean, there was structure, but it was nothing healthy. You roll out of bed, pull your jeans on, run out to try to go get your dope. Structure needs to become your best friend. And if you structure your life in such a way that it is identical, you're always going to be in a better mood. You are. Little things will set you off when you really have your structure down and something small gets in the way. You know, when you're programming the same thing every single day, one small hiccup will remind you of just how important this structure is to you. This morning, I was out of creamer. And I was out of creamer because there's so much damn snow out there that I didn't get a chance to go out and get it yesterday. The Prius, great car, but not so much in a foot of snow. And the other option is a Porsche 911, which I assure you is not going to make it to out of the garage, much less to the store. So I didn't get up there and buy the creamer. So this morning I had to do a different concept for my coffee, which required 3 different steps. I'm talking about foofy creamer, people. I'm not talking about just the stuff that turns the coffee, that nice sort of mocha color. I'm talking about, you don't need to put sugar in your coffee because this creamer tastes like, whatever flavor you happen to be buying, but just really tasty stuff. And I ran out of it. And I usually buy it 2 big jugs at a time. But it not being in there this morning meant I actually had to put sugar in my coffee, which I haven't done in, I don't remember how long. It wasn't the end of the world. But you notice when something, because my life is so structured now, it's insane. And, somebody said to me, I really appreciate you getting up this early. You realize that to do this at 5, I don't get up at, 4:28. I get up at about 5 minutes to 4 because I don't put the show together the night before. I don't even pick the subject the night before. I mean, I know generally I'm going to be talking about, relapse or whatever for the week. But if I try to do it the night before, it doesn't work for whatever reason. I sort of need to do these things on the fly. But I'm not pissing and moaning. I love it. I really do. I love it. I love getting up early. This works for me. I also go to bed really early for the most part. Although some nights I don't. But for the most part, I do. Unless somebody needs me. This is one of those situations where I'm really early to rise and I'm really early into bed, and it's that structure suits me beautifully. And it occurred to me the other day, I was out of sorts. People on the boat saw it, everybody saw it. I really got out of sorts. I wasn't the same person that started this channel. And not that I wanted the channel to end or anything stupid like that. I just wasn't myself. But I went back to the book. I went back to the very early days of what I was doing when I needed to quit heroin, not quit being an idiot. Right? I needed to quit something that I'd been doing for 30 years. And I had to go back and try to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And there are just small, subtle things that I really had to read a couple of times to look for. Like when I was incarcerated, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day. Every day, 4 a.m. And you know what? At 9 o'clock at night, they turn the lights off. Right? So there's no light. You're not doing a whole lot of reading or hanging out unless you have a book light. Because at 9 o'clock, those lights were cut. So 4 a.m. to 9 o'clock. Well, I changed that, didn't I? I mean, I was staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning. I changed my program, and I did it subtly. I didn't go one day, all right, but I got off doing all of the things that were making me really well grounded. Everything that was turning me into the person that I really wanted to be, and I was making strides and I was kicking the hell out of it, and I stopped doing it. Subtly, insidiously. If you got up one day and said, all right, that's it, Tommy, here's a new list of rules that you have to do this now, you got to do this, it would shock my system and I would go, screw you. And I would go right back to doing what I was doing because it would feel so foreign, right? It would be like a rock in your shoe. But that's not how it happened. Just a little bit off the tracks and then a little bit off the tracks and then a little bit off the tracks until the next thing you know, you're almost back to what you used to be. And I've told everybody on the boat, I said, I've been in relapse for a while. I am definitely in relapse. I don't mean if you're new to the boat, doesn't mean I'm getting high. It just means that I'm not working the program. I'm not doing all of the things that I successfully did that turned me into a different person. I got off the rails. But, so that's why journals are just so friggin' important. I got off the rails and couldn't figure out exactly why. What happened to me that I'm off the rails? Well, you know what? Go get the cheat sheet. I went back 7 years to read what I was writing back then and compared it to what I was writing today. And it was like, boom, instantly. I know what the hell I'm doing wrong. I know exactly what I'm doing wrong. This person isn't the same person. Everything I was doing, I was so damn dedicated. I was so damn dedicated in the beginning. It's easy to lose that dedication. And the way you keep it is structure the dog crap out of your life. Keep it structured. I used to say all the time, if I get up in the morning and I don't make my bed, I know I'm in trouble. Because that is such a huge part of everything that, it's a symbolism for who I am. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure that... Okay, sorry. I wanted to make sure it wasn't somebody in the chat, because now I've got people that sort of help cheat. So in case somebody's saying something that's really important. I'll tell you something else, people. So it was last week, right? I got up in the morning. I had to put sunglasses on because it was a really, really bad headache. And the following show, I skipped because the pain level in my head was probably at about a 3. I had a pain in the dome that was nothing like the morning before, where it was killing me. The morning before, it was really, really bad. But I skipped it when I had a 3 because it was a headache still, and I thought, you know what, it's a headache, and I'm not going to do this. I got a headache that's a 3 this morning. I do. It's not going to keep me from doing things today, but I got a headache. The difference between what a headache that was a 3 feels like when I'm structured, grounded, and programming versus what that headache felt like 9 days ago when I was not where I needed to be, it's astounding. It really is. The pain's the same. They're both a 3. But one was all encompassing. One was the only thing I could think about. I couldn't have a cohesive thought. I couldn't concentrate. There's no way I could have sat in front of the microphone and done this. People, if you get off the rails and you start to relapse, man, reach out and talk to somebody. Do you know what somebody said to me the other day, which cracked me the hell up? They said, well, you said you were in relapse. Are you reaching out to people? I talk to how many of you a day? I mean this way. I sit in front of a microphone and I tell you what's going on in my life every single damn day. This is a huge part of my programming. I work through my problems with all of you. I tell everybody what's going on in my life. If I start acting like a jerk, my last month, in fact, it was a month ago today. I know that because I need to pick up a prescription today. But it was a month ago today where I crapped all over the woman at the pharmacy. I'm not laughing at the fact that I did it. I just think crapping all over a woman at the pharmacy sounded funny to me this morning. But I was mean to that woman at the pharmacy because she gave me crap for talking on my cell phone to Johnny when I walked up to the window. It's just one of those things. Structure is absolutely important, people. Now, you know what time it is? It's time that I'm going to pop over into the comment section. I'm going to see what everybody's talking about. If you haven't been here in a while, I don't read comments anymore as they're scrolling up the screen. It keeps me squirreling all over the place when I do, and it makes me a judgmental prick. And sadly, it does. So I'm going to pop over here and see what we got. Captain, a bed grounding kit is about $30 on Amazon, and it will cease headaches. A bed grounding kit. Chris, I'm going to Google that and see what the hell a bed grounding kit is, because that sounds kind of cool. You know what's odd, Chris, is that I never had headaches in my life. Like, honestly, the number of headaches that I've had in my life, but I also have a traumatic brain injury, and it may be kind of linked to that. I don't know. We're going to get there's some tests that are coming up. Your kitty urged for attention and affection. Oh, M. Hunt, I know that story. Okay, you know what? Did I see Mr. Wolf's name up here? No, but he'll be here later. Mr. Wolf, I want a picture of you with a watch on your wrist. I have pictures of the watch. He sent me a picture of the watch, which did let me know that he got it, but I want a picture of you wearing it. John Doe, where is your smart meter? If I had a smart meter, mine would pretty much park at about the 2. Not the smartest tool, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Miss Hermit Hill, Kentucky. I've been listening. My husband was visiting last night and this morning, hopefully, steps in the right direction. Miss Hermanville, Kentucky, I sent you a birthday card. Please reach out and let me know if you got it. A little late, but I got a banger headache, but I'm here. Structure. Coburn, well done, my friend. And I appreciate that. I really do. I'm going to get a picture in just a bit. All right, that's the spirit, Mr. Wolf. No hurry. Just get it to me today so that I can post it. Come on, man. You're a solid 6 at least. Johnny Law, that's a very nice thing to say. It really is. You know what? I'm not trying to be morbid, or I'm not trying to be a bummer. I'm not trying to be anything else. I really have taken a hit in the brain department. My memory, and there's just there's been a lot over the last 4 or 5 years that, and some of that's just age. And for those of you who are a little bit lower in the age department, this hasn't probably been a reality for you yet. But you reach an age where all of a sudden you really just start losing things quickly in the mental department, and I'm there, sadly. Spanx Calhoun, proud of you, my boy. This got me out of bed today, stoked. Well, I love you. You know what? You also have you got some access. You got some access to the captain. If you need me, you just you're absolutely one of the most important people in the world. There's nothing I wouldn't do to help you. In fact, if I need to come out there and hang out, I would do it. Charlie Murphy, good to see you. Hello, Bubble Wrap. Gladys O'Kravitz, good to see you. Honesty is a key ingredient. Boy, you're not kidding. M. Hunt says, excellent, Spanx Calhoun. And you know what, Spanky? M. Hunt is a guy that knows exactly what you're going through times 10. Spent a little bit more time in there, but it's the same stuff. You know what he does, Bert? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Get some coconut water, the magnesium. Let's see something. I don't know why I'm squinting at this. I have the ability to blow this up this big, and I'm squinting at it. See that smart meter I was talking about? Get some coconut water with magnesium. Will aid headaches. It's structured water. The glucosamines and CMOS aids in memory and brain repair. Thank you, Chris. I'm telling you. You know what? Chris King has wildly got it together when it comes to all things health related. Yeah, please do, Miss V. And you know what? For those of you who pray, Miss V's got just put a prayer in for V. And I hate for this to sound the way that it sounds, because it's just going to sound awful. But I'm going to say it anyway. I want her ex to go away for a really long period of time. I know that sounds probably really rough from a guy that has spent time in prison, but this is a dude that needs to be there. And that whole case has been going on like a year and a half. And I would be really happy if that turned out the way that it should turn out. That would make me really, really happy. It really would. He's a third striker. Well, then that does make me feel a little better. That should mean that he's going to probably get a little bit of time. So I'll tell you something. This is a huge part of my structure. Coming here and and then getting back to basics. Getting back to basics, I think, is something that's what I've done here, right? Getting back to basics as a public speaker is, when you get on stage, the first thing you say is, hold all questions till the end, right? And there's a reason you do it. It's not because, it's not for any other reason other than you're way better off if you don't squirrel off of the subject matter. And I love talking to you guys. I love interacting. This part of the live feeds is awesome. But usually, if somebody's going to bail, they're going to bail right in the beginning. And in the beginning, I really kind of need to... The kitty meowed at you into the phone. He's trying to say hi. I want to tell you something. Squirrel meows, I kid you not, around the clock. The only time Squirrel is not meowing is when she's in that basket. If Lady Crispin was here, she could tell you. That cat meows probably 1,000 times a day. Like, she gets treats. Usually right after the show, I'll go and I'll give her treats. And she knows it's coming because she's got a program. And from the time she gets out of that basket until she's done eating them, like, I'm literally handing her the treats and she's still crying for them. You know, she meows through the crunching. She's just a funny little cat. She really is. But the number of people who said, "Oh, she's just such a well-behaved cat," I'd be like, "Oh man, has she got you all snowed?" Knocks things all. Trish Killian, good to see you. You know what, Trish? Since you're here, I'm going to say something. And I'm going to say something that I don't know how many people here that this is going to be important to, but I was watching a show last night, Trish, and that show bummed me out, and you were there. And I understand that where that was coming from, but it just left me feeling so unhappy. And I don't mean in my program. I just mean for that individual. That was just a bummer. It really was. It was a bummer, and I felt like he was yelling at the people that don't need to be yelled at, right? His biggest supporters. And I know that I just did an inside thing that no one else is going to get, but I'm not going to be able to say that anywhere else. I would never say anything that's mean about anybody, and that's not what I'm trying to do right now. But that was so uncomfortable for me. The cats are better. The cats are better programmed than us. Oh, they are. And it's really funny because I will say the TREAT word, and I'm spelling it in case she's on the other side of that door. But if it was shocking, it was really shocking. So if I say TREAT, it doesn't matter where I'm at. If I just say that, with any kind of volume, cat will come running, right, instantly. And I said to somebody, I'm like, "You see how well I got this cat trained?" And they're like, "No, that cat's not coming to you until you feed it. The cat's got you trained." I was going to Walmart to buy a new phone. I bought a dog instead. You know what, though? My last cat, not Squirrel, not Zipper, but the cat I had before, whose name was Fiona, oddly enough. My cat, Fiona, I went out to buy a Christmas tree and came home with a cat. I was really, really popular with my previous wife. She didn't think that was such a great idea. Yeah. In my defense, I also bought kitty litter, cat food, and, a litter box. And a couple of cat toys. I just didn't get a Christmas tree or anything else. Miss V, the day is coming where you'll be able to get a cat or a dog. Yeah, the day is coming. But in the meantime, you're saving up all that love for the animal. I'm not kidding you. Scooby says cats are good friends. They are. I'm going to tell you something. This is going to sound so stupid, but one of the things that I found the most painful about being incarcerated was the lack of pets and animals. I'm not kidding you. That was hell for me. It really was. When I would make lists of all of the things that I lost through my stupid, the actions that I did when I was under the influence. I used to journal quite a bit about all of the things that I missed most from the street, and feeling fur on an animal was just huge. It was such a huge part of it. It's the reason that they do so many of those dog and cat programs in a lot of prisons, especially where people are doing life, because studies have been done. Studies have been done time and time again of just how much animals ground human beings. There's also studies that have been done that say pet owners live longer. There is so much that takes place between human and animal. The animal-human interaction is just absolutely astounding. It really is. My beagle that I spent $125 on has cost me over $8,000. You know something? I had a cat, and Spanx Calhoun we had 4 cats when Spanky was a boy. And I had a cat named Alice. And when I would go on the road as a public speaker, she would stop eating, like a hunger strike. And we took her to the vet, and they had to put a feeding tube in. And this happened multiple times. And the vet said, the cat's not going to make it. You can keep putting a feeding tube in there, but the cat's not on a hunger strike because you've left. They don't get that attached to people, blah, blah, blah. I said, "You're a vet? How dumb do you have to be?" But it got to a point where I bought this little cat carrier, and I would take her on road trips with me because I would leave and she would stop eating. I would come back, she'd instantly start eating. That cat just really, really loved me. And Spanky had a cat that weighed about 750 pounds. I'm not kidding. He had a cat that was just massive, a cat named Ralph that was and he loved. Spanx would go and visit relatives sometimes in the summer, and the cat would go into his room and just lay on the floor and be miserable, like stare at the bed, waiting for him to come back. They really, really were close. $1,200 to remove a tumor. Can't afford. Really. Oh man. Yeah, I told you guys the story of my friend Jeff that I no longer talk to. He had a dog that he had just forever, and the animals the older they get, tumors is the thing with dogs. When they start getting older, it's one tumor, you know, after another. My golden retriever, the last one I had, he probably had Ralphie boy. Yeah, I got pictures of the two of them together, and where the cat is as big as Spanky was. Ralphie was really a great dog. Kimberly, good to see you. I took care of greyhounds in prison. A rescue brought them after being rescued from racetracks. It made my time doable. You know what, Kimberly? I have been told by so many people that greyhounds are really way more like cats than other dogs. That there's just something that one of my cats weighs 30 pounds. Yeah, that's right around Ralph. That's right around Ralph. What? But the thing is, he wasn't a chunk. Ralph was just massive. Like like everything about him. He looked more like a Maine Coon cat, but he wasn't. I will send them to you, Calhoun, I promise. Yeah, that's a big cat. If and when I need to get another cat, which is not a day that I'm looking forward to, because I'm never going to be a four cat household again. But I would the next one I want a Maine Coon cat for the next one, because they're just, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's Ralph's size. That's what I mean. Ralphie was 24 pounds at one time. I don't know if he ever got up to 30, but he was always in the 20s. He's a big, big guy. All right, peeps, you know what? The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of other things. ZW, good to see you. Ralph and Alice were the runts, and they ended up the biggest. It's true. You know what? I went to my drug dealer's house back in the day. And this was in Texas, and it was different. I actually would go to a guy's house. It wasn't a parking lot kind of a thing. I was buying different drugs. But I went to his house, and his wife ran the Humane Society, and I was down to pick up a couple of pounds of this and a half a pound of that. It was when I was really a degenerate. But M. Hunt, his is a Maine Coon. So I went down there and said, I need to pick up this stuff. And he goes, oh man, I can't even serve you. I said, what? He's like, yeah, there's a couple of cats that, basically, if we don't get a home for them, they're going to end up having to euthanize them. And my wife runs that, society. So, I would need to take care of the cats thing before I can serve. I'm like, I'll take him. And he's like, no, you're not just, I'm like, no, I'm not saying that I really love cats. Let me see what you got. And they were all black and white except for two that were gray. Right? They had a big litter, and they were all black and white except two gray ones, and they were teeny as hell. Like, they were the runts of the litter. And boy, they didn't work out that way, though. M. Hunt, you have a blessed day too, my friend. People, I'm going to be back tonight on the fives. Right here. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. Squirrels hunting mice in the garage. Listen, it's the weekend. Structure this thing, right? Start paying conscious attention to how you structure your day. How you structure your day will be how you structure your life. And if your life is not structured, you're going to go right back to whatever drug or booze or whatever you were using. Your substance of choice was the glue that held your life together. Your substance of choice was the structure in your life. When that substance is gone, it's like pulling mortar out of a wall. You just got loose bricks all over the place. You're going to keep those bricks in place, not with good thoughts, not with positive energy. You're going to keep them in place with structure. Good thoughts are huge. Positive energy is massive. Prayer is important. But those things are going to work on a different part of your life. You want to stay sober so you can work on positive thoughts and prayer and good energy and all of that? Then structure the dog crap out of your life. Pack those bricks with mortar. Structure, structure, structure. Clean your house. Get a deep breath, go outside, right? Walk around, a little exercise, a little food, things that will keep you sleeping. 3 meals a day. Program. Captain Tommy Scoville, and I will see you on the deck of the lifeboat. I love you all. Holly, let me know what's going on.